And now I'd like to welcome Lieutenant General Larry James, Deputy Director JPL, and a member of the AIAA Board of Trustees to come up and lead the next panel on global cooperation in space.
Good morning. How are we doing? You all have your coffee? We're all good? Okay, Pam warmed us up. So as I was listening to Pam's talk, I tried to count the number of times that she said international. Did anybody count that? But obviously it was a lot. And she certainly emphasized truly importance of partnership in this space domain that we're operating in today. So I think it's just a great segue for us as a community and certainly for our distinguished panelists to really dive into the whole role of international space capabilities, international partnerships, and all that that has to offer. And as I move forward here, again, I just wanted to highlight the fact that, we are an international set of capabilities, right? And I just highlighted some of the key partnerships that NASA has had, either through the years or currently. For example, you have the NISAR mission that is a partnership with ISRO. You have the GRACE follow-on, and now we're working on GRACE continuity gravity measurement mission with the German Space Agency, DLR. We supported Hayabusa 2 with our Deep Space Network, and certainly the science and the samples coming back. Michael Freilich Sentinel-6 had JPL and NASA payloads on board. It was launched a few years ago out of Vandenberg, and finally ESA plays a big role in Mars sample return with the Earth Return Orbital. So this, just some very brief snapshots of the incredible international cooperation that is already going on and is extremely essential to moving us forward with these capabilities to really do incredible science for ultimately the nation, but for the world in reality. So we have really 4 distinguished panelists. I don't want to spend a lot of time introducing them because I want them to be able to speak about what's going on in their agencies, but also give you time to ask some questions. So I would encourage you to use the app to ask your questions. I'll be getting those here on the iPad, and you can really have a role in playing what we're going to talk to them about. So just do some quick introductions. First, we have Peter Gräf from the German Space Agency at DLR. He is the Director for Applications in Science at DLR and the German Space Agency. So he's got a big portfolio. He oversees Earth observation, satellite communication, space science, research and exploration, and innovation and emerging markets. So Peter, welcome. No, you don't get to come up yet. But I'm going to introduce all 4 of them in the order they'll be speaking. And from ESA, we have Daniel Neuenschwander, who is the Director for Human and Robotic Exploration. He took over that role in July of this past year. So diving deep into human and robotic space exploration for ESA. Prior to that, he was the Director for Launchers for ESA from 2016 to 2023. And prior to that, he was the head of the Swiss Space Office and Swiss delegation at ESA. So Daniel, welcome and thank you. Next to him, we have Director Sankaran, who is a distinguished scientist of the Indian Space Research Organization, ISRO, and also the director of the U.R. Rao Satellite Center in Bangalore. And this really is the key center for ISRO that does the design, development, and the development of realization of all the spacecraft that ISRO does. So extremely important partner for NASA and JPL. We saw the NISAR spacecraft in the first slide there, and that spacecraft is currently at the center in Bangalore, just entered thermal vacuum testing for a launch next spring. So very exciting to have the director here with us today. Their center really focuses on miniaturization of avionics systems, developing indigenous electronics and power systems, looking at micro and mini satellite capability, but he's also working on the realization and qualification for their manned space program, which is a great goal for the Indian Space Research Organization. And then our last speaker will be Hiroshi Sasaki. He's the Vice President and Director General for Human Spaceflight Technology at JAXA. He has been leading the development and vision and scenarios for future human spaceflight activities that includes plans to explore the Moon and Mars. So again, we heard Pam talk about a lot of that partnership going forward with the Artemis Accords, and JAXA is playing a great role in that. So those are our panelists. I'm going to call each one up to have them give a short presentation about what's going on in their particular agency, and then we'll enter into our dialogue and discussion. And again, I encourage you to ask questions. I will highlight one other thing in that Director Sankaran is going to be also giving a lunch talk on Chandrayaan-3. So for those of you who saw that live landing here just a couple months ago, incredible mission, so you'll get a lot of the details if you come to the lunch talk here later today. So we encourage you to do that. So with that, I'll turn it over to Peter from German Space Agency. Peter. Here's the clear.
Thank you. Thank you, Larry, and good morning to everybody. And thanks to the organizers for inviting me for this interesting and exciting panel. So I will give you a brief overview on what international cooperation means for the German Space Agency. So the German government has recently released an update on the German space strategy, which focuses on areas of activities that are in line with the challenges of our times, actually. The climate change and the protection of resources and the environment, security, strategic capacity to act, and global stability, or the sustainable and secure use of outer space. Guiding principle of all these activities is European and international cooperation. A few examples, actually. ESA is providing the European Service Module for Orion, which was developed and built by a European industrial consortium under the industrial leadership of Airbus Defence and Space in Bremen. This is Europe's major contribution to the Artemis program, and we are quite honored and proud that this piece comes from Germany. So the European launcher Ariane 6 or the science missions like the Solar Orbiter are further prominent examples of a strong European cooperation within ESA. On request of the European Union, ESA is running the navigation program Galileo, as well as the Copernicus program. And Copernicus and the Copernicus Sentinels are continuously capturing the current state of our planet. It is the world's largest provider of Earth observation data, and therefore very, very important for climate change and the analysis of what happens. And Germany is the biggest contributor to this program as well. In addition to these European cooperations, we have bilateral cooperations like the asteroid mission Destiny 2, together with JAXA, or the mass change missions with GRACE with NASA JPL. The most prominent example, for sure, is the International Space Station when it comes to international cooperation. It provides research capacities for fundamental and applied sciences, for technology developments, and this for more than 20 years now. For the future in low Earth orbit, we are looking forward to the commercial LEO stations. And also here we see a tendency for transatlantic cooperations. Axiom has recently signed a MOU with ESA on cooperation on its station. The exploration company is going to provide cargo with its newly developed space capsule. And Airbus recently started a joint venture with Voyager Space on Starlab. As mentioned, Germany is via ESA participating in the Artemis program. And with strong contributions to ESM for Orion and the Lunar Gateway. And consequently, with the German Space Agency, the German Space Agency recently signed the Artemis Accords, which will serve as guidelines for responsible and sustainable exploration of outer space. So at all, you see that international cooperation is an integral part of the German program, and we are living it on a day-to-day basis. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. So now I'll have Director Neuenschwander come up and talk about ESA.
Good morning, Las Vegas. Good morning on this small blue planet. Thanks, Larry, for the kind introduction. And I'm very happy on behalf of the European Space Agency to share where we see today the exploration program. But let me just start where Pam made a point before about international cooperation, because this is what we're going to speak about. I mean, space has an intrinsic international dimension because there is no borders, neither natural nor legal, and all what we do in space are really addressing global issues. We all know them: climate, communication, you all know them. But before going into that, I really would like and have the pleasure to introduce to you what we see from the European side as an exploration program in the context of where from the United States with the Moon to Mars strategy, which was mentioned just before. You have laid the ground and you have given a new boost. We have given a new boost at worldwide level, and it's really nice to see the dynamics that we have today around this globe, and we have definitely embraced this on the European side, and we have on that right now a process where we will review this strategy. And let me say it this way: 3 destinations, 1 program, 1 strategy. This is what it is about. So the first point, it has been addressed, is that in low Earth orbit, we want for sure have a sustained presence, and we want to use low Earth orbit. We want to make sure that we can use it as a test bed. And here comes the first point, that we really address commonalities, and I will come back on that. The second point is the ambition on the Moon, an ambition where we want from the European side to contribute to a sustained presence, for sure. We all know the challenges we have. It's more than just going there and putting boots on the Moon. It is about a sustained presence where we need to address energy, we need to address communication, mobility, etc. So we are definitely excited to address this in an international context. Then we have the vision for Mars. Why vision? Because here again, we cannot work in exploration without having a long-term plan. And all what we do, we shall project also what it will mean at the longer term. And we are right now working on the European side on a 20 years Mars plan. And last but not least, bottom right on this slide, inspiration, because we are just working now on the European side with a new initiative where we want to contribute also to a certain self-determination of Europe with cargo, a low Earth orbit cargo return service. This will be the first increment, but the path goes beyond, and the path, of course, shall open if our member states decide so, to really go towards crew transportation, low Earth orbit, and or also sample returns from the Moon. Having said that, we have a program. The program addresses, of course, the 3 destinations. I will not come back to it. I just want to highlight what is in the margin of this slide, that, of course, all what you do on exploration needs to have a clear technology roadmap. And when I mentioned commonalities before, I think we can do more on that in terms of synergy across technology developments. And for that, we also need standards, and that we work together at the international level on standardized interfaces. There is a commercialization dimension, just also introduced by Peter. But last but not least, I really want to insist, at least seen from the European side, about the scientific dimension. The excellence of science is certainly something which echoes in our stakeholders' mind, especially in Europe, and our member states definitely support when we can also show what are the benefits in terms of science of an exploration program. There are 2 types of science. The one which you do because you're excellent, and the one which is also an enabling factor for future missions. With that, we have a kind of, let's say, master plan of European contribution. This is the situation right now. So if I start in low Earth orbit to the International Space Station, you know from the European side, the main contribution is certainly the Columbus laboratory, but there were different other elements in terms of infrastructure, Node 2 and 3, and in the past we flew the ATVs, 5 missions of the ATV, which allowed us also to have a certain heritage which we will use in the low Earth orbit cargo service mentioned before. Right now, up there, we have a crew under the leadership of Andy Mogeson, our European astronaut and also commander of the ISS right now. I'm happy to see that Andy is now the 6th commander of the ISS from Europe, and I think despite our, I would say, modest but important contribution to the ISS, I'm very happy to see that in this cooperation scheme we have also the possibility not only to do outstanding research, but also to take responsibility. Then you know we work on Ariane 6, Peter mentioned it as well, I will not come back to it. And then of course, the humans beyond low Earth orbit, Artemis mentioned by Pam as well, the European Service Module, certainly a key contribution where I think we have changed league in our long-standing cooperation with the US, and I highly value that, and will certainly enhance this further for sure. At Gateway, you see it, you have two elements in blue, which are our European contributions. I have on the one side, and then also Esprit. And when it comes to the surface of the moon, Argonaut, there will be a huge demand on bringing cargo capabilities to the lunar surface. The European contribution has a name, it's called Argonaut. It's a lander which shall bring 1.5 tons to the lunar surface, but as mentioned before, it's not just about landing the cargo. The question is about how do we shape together a sustained presence on the lunar surface, and I'm looking here also to my colleagues and friends from other agencies across the globe. You have two elements in green, Moonlight, which is a communication project that we have in lunar orbit. I think we'll have also to develop this further with what we do at the lunar surface together with in orbit. And Endure, because at the end of the day, it's clear that if we are close to the poles, we have some sun light to use, but the question of nuclear power is a topic we have to work on. Last but not least, Mars. Very important. What we have first to bring home from the European side is our Rosalind Franklin project, known as ExoMars. For ExoMars, we have now the entry, descent, and landing module, and we have, of course, the rover at the surface, drilling 2 meters down, which is quite an important element. And I really have to underline that this revised mission architecture allows to bring on the one side strong European technology in terms of content, but I would like to underline and thank the US for their contribution to the version we have right now. It's not a secret, we have been through all the type of emotions with ExoMars, and I'm really excited to bring it home now. Then Mars sample return. I have a dedicated slide on this. I just would like to underline here our full support to the Mars sample return. I think it's a so exciting mission. We're perfectly aware about the challenges Mars sample return is going through right now. I had great exchanges with NASA yesterday. We are here from the European side to work on whatever is needed. I have two messages. First, the European contributions are there. We are ready, we are committed, and we will deliver the Earth return orbiter and the sample transfer arm. And on top of that, we will look for whatever is needed to underline the strong partnership with NASA on the one side, and on the other side, just to make it happen. It's a great mission. So with that, you see a bit what are the milestones ahead. Time is running. I will come to an end. Just underline the ambition we have from Europe and conclude by saying that we are ready for doing this. Let's go together. Let's shape the future, a future that opens space for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you, Daniel. And next up is Director Sankaran.
Thank you, Larry, for the invitation. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. And today in India is considered a very auspicious day. Today is the Dasara or Vijayadashmi Day, the day the good has triumphed over evil, and many families start education for children on this day. So I'm very happy to be here on this day to discuss with you on the accelerating sustainable space exploration through global cooperation. The saga of ISRO itself is the outcome of global cooperation. Some of the older people may recall, in the early 60s when India also started its space program, it was helped by everybody, including the Americans, French, the Russians. I can't leave out anybody. Whoever had something to do with space, everybody got into the habit of helping us, and that's why today ISRO has its own strong space program, and the outcome from that space program, it's there for everybody to see. And at this point, I want to remember the founder of ISRO, Professor Vikram Sarabhai, who gave us the guidelines for making the satellites or the space program, which was supposed to be for the benefit of the common people of the country. And it took us some time to realize that we have reached somewhere in that goal, and we can now look ahead and look around us and partners, get into partnership with the world. So that is when all this started. What you see on the screen is ISRO has been having about 280 cooperative agreements with a number of countries and multilateral organizations. And this cooperation has been established through joint satellite missions. We have accumulated payloads from other countries in our spacecraft, joint experiments on board the spacecraft, ground station support on reciprocal basis, disaster management support for the entire world, particularly the Indian Ocean region. India is the focal point for the disaster management purpose, the search and rescue, and professional exchange. I will talk a bit about that towards the end. And capacity building within India and also outside India. And global policy making, we are also been actively participating in the UN space efforts, as well as recently we have signed the Artemis Accord also, so that our voice for the global policy making is also heard. To identify some of the spacecraft which had a global impact are the Chandrayaan-1, which you know had a suite of payloads from around the world, which had an outstanding success, though short-lived mission. It lived only for about 10 months. But it came spectacular success by confirming the presence of the hydroxyl molecule on the lunar surface, followed by the AstroSat, which is a sort of unsung hero. It's one of the biggest science producer from India. It has produced more than about 800 papers, scientific papers from its outcome. It's a huge outcome for us, and the entire data of AstroSat is available for anybody in the world to use. All the measurements of AstroSat is available. And of course, Chandrayaan 2 and 3, though there were no international payloads on board these two spacecraft, the missions have been supported by NASA, ESA, as well as by commercial companies across the world, and also our own partners in Mauritius, BIAC, and that is at Indonesia, and in Fiji. A number of people have supported us by helping with the tracking stations for tracking the Chandrayaan missions, both of them, and NASA even helped us with the navigation support. We also have two joint missions with the French Space Agency, the Megatropics and the SAREL. Both have successfully been launched and produced a large volume of data, particularly for the climate science, and both of them have successfully completed their missions. And currently we are working on the joint NASA-ISRO synthetic aperture radar project. As Larry mentioned, that the spacecraft is in the final stage of integration, and it is right now in the thermal vacuum chamber undergoing tests. So this is about the past, what has happened. Now we are looking ahead at a number of missions. We are in the planning stage for orbiter mission to Venus, and a landing mission to Mars, and of course, collaborative mission with JAXA for lunar polar exploration, LUPEX mission is also is in the planning stages. And within the last 10 days, after these slides were made, the government of India has given us a very tight timetable of exploration in space. That is, we need to have a sample return from the moon within about 4 years, and by 2035, the Indian space station, and by 2040, an Indian on moon and return back. This is the target that has been given by the government of India to us, and we are just very so much excited about this opportunity to come up with all these missions, and of course with the support from the entire international community. Finally, when I mentioned about the science data, you can see on the screen the entire science data available from all our ISRO missions are available free for everybody around the world. The website is mentioned over there for using the scientific data for their own research purpose. And our recent India signing of the Artemis Accord has also made us a partner with a stronger voice in the global policy making effort towards the space science in future. And we have a good presence in the IADC. One of our colleagues is vice president of the IAF, and also we are having one of our colleagues leading this UN Sustainability Working Group for quite some time now. So we have been, may not be as much as some of our illustrious colleagues, but we are there. We are getting into this international cooperation in a manner which is befitting our size. The final point I wanted to make is that not only the international cooperation, India is also is focused on making India as an emerging space ecosystem where we provide the knowledge for Indians around the world, not only around the country, and not only Indians, but also from countries who do not have their own space program around the world. So this is, the case is about Unnati, which is a program announced in 2018 by India, where 3 sessions of classroom plus hands-on training to 2 engineers maximum from a country. So 3 sessions were done, about 100 participants from about 50 different countries where they were sponsored to come to India, stay in India for 2 months, had a classroom session for a month, and another month of hands-on session in nanosatellite design and making. And we have about 100 happy people. I'm sure that they will be contributing in their respective countries in this domain. While this is a focused program for 3 sessions, we have a continuous UN-sponsored program for education in the Asia-Pacific region for all people around India. We are conducting master's degrees and also certificate courses, and which are happening in person as well as online. This is carried out by several of our centers in various subjects, including Earth observation, synthetic aperture radars, electro-optical imaging, nanosatellites making, communication technology. In various areas, thousands of people have graduated out of this school every year, and the COVID period became a blessing for this education program, because from in-person program, this program was converted into online program. So the hundreds of people every year changed to thousands of people in the last 3 years. So that we consider as a great outcome. Though COVID has not given us anything good, we consider this as a great outcome, because now every year we are seeing about a few thousand people participate in these programs and get their education in these domains. So as I told in the beginning, India has been the beneficiary of the international cooperation from other countries, and we would like to return the favor, and that is what we have been doing it for those countries who do not have a program of their own and who do not have the wherewithal to do it on their own. And with that note, let me thank you for this opportunity. Thank you very much, and have a nice day. Namaskar.
Thank you, Director. And now we have Director General Sasaki from JAXA.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the introduction. I'm Hiroshi Sasaki, Vice President of JAXA, in charge of human spaceflight and space exploration. And it is my pleasure to introduce JAXA activities related to the sustainable space exploration through the global cooperation. JAXA is actively participating in the ISS program with NASA, ESA, CSA, and Roscosmos. And JAXA is mainly contributing the payload facility, Japanese experiment module Kibo, and cargo resupply vehicle HDB, and Japanese astronaut. Through the ISS program, JAXA ran the ISS international partnership or collaborations. And these activities want to continue the post-ISS era and also the Moon to Mars activities. Okay. And JAXA is actively participating. I'm sorry, I'd like to skip this one. Okay. And this just shows JAXA's space exploration roadmap. Through the LEO activities and the former science missions such as Kaguya and HYBSA-2, JAXA plans to expand activities to the Moon and Mars. At the Moon, robotics mission is ongoing, and crewed missions will be start soon. After this, infrastructures will be in place and sustainable lunar exploration will begin. JAXA will contribute to such expanding the human presence. Sorry, skip this one. I'm sorry, this is the old one. Okay. I'm sorry that this is the old one that I updated the chart, but I'd like to go back to the, sorry. Okay. And, okay, I'd like to explain based on this chart. We have SLIM. Last month, we launched the SLIM Smart Lander for Invisible Moon. SLIM is currently flying smoothly toward the Moon and is scheduled to land early next year. It demonstrates a pinpoint landing technologies with accuracy of 100 meters. And we accommodated the NASA provided reflector, and we will share the data with SLIM obtained. And soon, JAXA will launch the 2 spacecrafts to Martian Moon and lunar surface. The first one is MMX on the Mars missions. We call them Martian Moon Exploration Mission. Sample return mission from the Martian Moon Phobos. It accommodates the rover provided by the DLR and CNES, and also the instrument provided by NASA and ESA. It is scheduled to be launched next year. And also, we will launch LUPEX to the Lunar Polar Exploration Mission, which is a joint mission with ISRO to explore the water resources in the lunar South Pole region to demonstrate the exploration technologies such as rover technologies and night survey technologies. It also carries observation instrument from NASA and ESA. For the human spaceflight, JAXA will participate in cislunar and lunar surface activities. The middle of the lines, JAXA will provide provide a system to the gateway. A gateway is also the international program by NASA, ESA, CSA, and JAXA. JAXA will provide an environment control and life support system, ECRUS, to the International Habitation Module integrated by ESA. And also, we will provide a resupply function for gateway by HDB-XG. And we would plan to develop the crewed pressures rover. Astronauts can board in without spacesuits, and the vehicle is capable of the both crewed and uncrewed exploration. The crewed pressures rover is expected to significantly expand the area of the exploration that has been limited to around the landing site so far. This mission is also a collaboration with NASA. And we are conducting the cooperation not only with the international partners, but also the commercial partners. To realize sustainable lunar exploration, we believe the collaboration with commercial partners is important. We need to combine the space agencies' technologies, such as space transportations and human space flight, with technologies in which the private sector has expertise on the ground or around the Earth. JAXA is conducting the joint research activities such as construction, living, food, and energy. JAXA and the Japanese government are also supporting the private sector's activities technically and financially. We will accumulate Japanese technologies and contribute to the international space exploration. And we want to go together. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Well, thank you very much. And I know it's difficult when you don't have the right slides, so great recovery. So again, we've got several questions from the audience, and so we're going to roll through those. The first one is related to lunar exploration and ultimately bringing humans to be there for a significant period of time. And the question really is, because you all talked about going to the moon with humans, is there thoughts on this being an international base on the moon, or do you see that you're going to go forward with a European or an Indian or a Japanese structure and support capability on the moon? So thoughts on international cooperation ultimately with infrastructure on the moon. Where do you see that going? We'll just go down the row.
Okay, so I think that this exciting times, we see that these exploration of the moon, the surface of the moon, is certainly a big task. And from the experience we all have with international cooperation, it's quite clear that this can only be done in an international cooperative way. We have a good start with the Artemis program, with the Artemis Accords that pave the way for an international framework, how to proceed with exploration in outer space. We have, from the technological point of view, lots of experience from space station, LEO. We are now building the Lunar Gateway together. And I think it's a normal consequence that we will end up together on the moon's surface.
Great. Daniel, from an ESA perspective.
Thank you. Just first of all, I will fully endorse what Peter said, because Germany is the main contributor to our program. So just to make it clear from the beginning. But joke aside, I think it's really fundamental that we join forces. I mean, if you see the effort which we had really to deploy on the International Space Station, which is basically the biggest international cooperation endeavor, okay, with some, not everybody, but I think it was really a great success. And now we have to go the next step, and the farther we go, the more risks we take, the more difficult it will become, and the more costly it will become. And as mentioned by our colleague from ISRO, I mean, at the end, it's about sharing benefit, risks, investment, and I do not really see a path without a great international cooperation on that. First step now is Gateway, where we have also to learn about what does it mean for humans to be out there. I'm very happy that we have also some 2 of 3 instruments on Gateway, which will in fact study radiation on the human body inside and outside of the Gateway, will come from Europe. I think that's an important stepping stone. Then we spoke about the cargo capability to be brought to the lunar surface. We will have one. I think there will be others. There will be also commercial opportunities, and we should definitely go for that as well. And then comes the whole challenge only starts, and I'm very happy that JAXA will deliver the pressurized rover for the crew. But power, communication, mobility in the largest sense, then interoperability of all these topics require that we have a single architecture which is truly international.
Excellent. Dr. Sankaran.
Yeah, I see in more practical terms, orbiting gateway around Moon as well as around Earth to service the crafts which may go in for landing and coming back, and also communication and navigation systems developed around Moon by an international cooperation would definitely help in everybody who wants to go to Moon. And I don't see that every one of the mission who is going to land on Moon need to be international cooperation, but the entire all the activity together can be managed as a cooperative activity through this kind of servicer gateways and navigation and communication support in orbiting crafts around Moon.
Okay. I'm almost the same as Daniel, and the Moon is far away from the lunar orbit, and the cost is higher and the risk is higher, so we want to share the risk and also the cost, share the cost. And also it is important to bring in each other's strengths to the tables, and also sharing the data and also efficient way. Such kind of activities is necessary for realistic and efficient activities.
Great. Okay, we don't have a lot of time left. I'm probably going to ask some individual questions. The first one to Director Sankaran. You recently signed the Artemis Accords. Is there any thought about perhaps becoming a partner with the ISS, perhaps an Indian astronaut going to the ISS? Where do you see that, especially as you prepare for your own manned space program?
We have our own manned space program for which the astronauts have been identified, and they have already undergone some amount of training. But with this Artemis Accord in place, there is already a move to send an Indian astronaut to the ISS within the next 1 year or so, one and a half years time frame. Yes, it is. The work is going on, and I am hoping that it will happen soon enough rather than later.
Excellent. This gets to technical infrastructure. Peter, I'm going to address this to you in terms of the specific question was related to Thales and the infrastructure in Europe being able to do all the work that ESA and the various space agencies are demanding. Do you see that that could be a potential bottleneck, or you feel confident that the infrastructure for the European Space Agency and the individual programs is there to do all the work?
Well, I think we have the European industry that is capable of doing all the work, definitely. The one or the other technology might not be in place yet, but I think due to the way we run the programs over the years, actually, we put our European industry in a perfect shape to be competitive and also to be performant, to do the job and come up with the right infrastructure for this purpose.
Excellent. Daniel, in terms of emerging space nations, could you speak to ESA in terms of their interactions with emerging space nations, those nations with smaller programs, et cetera? Has ESA had a focus in that arena to support and partner with those sorts of countries?
For sure, yes. Let me start by a small point. You know that within ESA, before going to international partners, we have 22 member states. We have also smaller member states. We have also a rising ambition in exploration. And it's important that we find also a place for these states. And with that, I just want to say that at ESA, international cooperation is our daily business. It's our bread and butter. But now to go to your point about international partners, I think that there are very interesting opportunities coming up. Some are at the horizon, some are closer. But from ESA's point of view, we have our long-standing partnership with the US, with Japan, with India. We had also a great partnership up to the start of the war in Ukraine, the aggression of Russia in Ukraine up to then. Then we stopped for obvious reasons. But we have an opportunity. Take the UAE, to give you a single example. They have a great ambition. They can bring a lot of value to the program, and I think that we have to tie up the links with these type of countries. And on top of that, also with the commercial sector.
Good. For Director General Sasaki, there's been a lot of guidance on deorbiting spacecraft, decommissioning spacecraft, protecting the environment. How has that impacted JAXA? How are you thinking about how you meet those international agreements in terms of how we manage the LEO infrastructure to make sure that we don't create problems for the future?
There's lots of international collaborations with ESA and NASA, and Japan is a little far away from European and American, but we are now coordinating lots of activities, and we believe that through that similar collaborations, and we can become close communications, and we can coordinate that similar things, and in the future, so we get good resolutions for not only the low Earth orbit, but also the space explorations.
Excellent. Director Sankaran, there was a question, obviously a lot of interest in your manned program. Will there be opportunities for international cooperation in your manned program as you launch humans into orbit and create an Indian space station? Will there be opportunities for international cooperation there?
I would imagine so, but it is too early for me to say anything because the plan has been laid out only 10 days ago. We need to work out the details. When I say plan, it is only the target that has been laid out 10 days ago. So we are going to work on it, and I must admit that without international cooperation, it would be very difficult to achieve such stiff target. Yes, I do see cooperation.
Okay. This could be for both Peter and Daniel. There was a question about the U.S. government regulations like ITAR and those sorts of things that can often make it more difficult to do international cooperation in terms of protecting technology. Do you see ESA and or DLR having an easier path with that when you do international cooperation, or do you have similar restrictions in terms of technology transfer and those sorts of things as you do international partnerships?
Okay. So let me start a sentence and Peter will end it. Okay. I think we have just to embrace what's happening at worldwide level. The pace is increasing, and I think we have all to take the measure of what's happening at worldwide level. And what you just said is a great example. I mean, the ambitions are there, they are out. But if we want to embrace the pace, we should also think about the regulatory aspects. And indeed, if you take the CLIPS program, I think we were in Europe very excited about what ESA and European industry could contribute in a very fast pace, less than 2 years. But it has to be noted that export control topics are a real break, and we have to think about that. And we have also today a thinking, as for you, we are still making up our mind, but what about technology retention? Let's be open, let's address it. That's a real topic. Yeah. I mean, we want to cooperate, but technology retention will be something we have to take on board. And here you see that the two objectives are diverging, and the key question is how to bring it together. I do not have the answer right now, but we are working on both.
But it's quite clear that we are in Europe are aware of the necessity to handle this topic in a very precise way, so that we have a clear future before us. So this is very, very important.
Well, excellent. I couldn't get to all the questions, but I will say there were several questions asking if you would all be willing to come back to other conferences and speak. So be prepared for that. But again, I hope this gives you a great sense of, number one, the tremendous international partnerships we already have that are doing incredible work, and really what the vision is for the future of how we go together to explore space, to develop our science understanding, and do this for the benefit of humanity. So please give our panelists a round of applause, and thank you.
Thank you, Ray.
And I will just continue to plug the Chandrayaan-3 discussion at lunch. So join us there. Thank you all.